Hey everyone, welcome to another issue of Jay and Bax's Expensive Paper. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Eric from SideQuest Comics. He will be hanging out with us tonight. He's a very talented artist, so we'll be learning about his journey and all about his art style. So stay tuned. We're excited to have him. Hey Eric.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Not too much. It's almost Thanksgiving.
Almost, yeah. One more day. Well,
One more.
one more sleep. I'll put it that way.
One,
Yes. It's a good way to put it.
that's an excellent way of putting it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm
Yeah,
excited
welcome
about
to the
tonight.
show.
I always love talking about comics and art and stuff. So
Well, it's great to have you. Thanks for coming. I think like Bax said in the intro, a lot of people, watch your channel, but they may not realize you are an artist. So what I'd like to do during, your comic journey and dive right into how you got into comics, what you collect, is showcase some of the art you did
okay,
during the Comics Curing Cancer live stream on Nate's channel and 𝐜𝐫𝐢𝐜 Comics. So, what do you guys think? Okay with that?
sounds good to me.
All
Yeah.
right.
Let's do it.
And with that, Eric, how did you get started into comics?
Well, so I think what got me really started in comics is actually cartoons in a way. You think of comics, it's kind of like a kid's cartoon, but just in a different format. And I grew up watching shows like Super Friends or Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And I think from watching stuff like that, it was kind of just a natural progression to get into comic books. I was an only child, so I had a lot of time to myself where it was TV, or I used to entertain myself by drawing a lot. And I think that's kind of was the bridge to get me into comics was the artwork. I was watching these characters on TV, and then when I saw them at the store in the book format, I was fascinated with the art. I've always liked drawing and creating characters or reproducing characters that I knew from those cartoons or those early comics. So it was just a natural thing for me to like pick up a comic book and study the artwork. Comics have always been not so much about the story, but about the artwork. I would just study the layout and how that artist would represent the figure or figures or maybe even a monster in the comics. And so I was always fascinated about that. And yeah, it was just it's like step after step after step, and it got to me to the point where I became a full-fledged collector in probably mid to late 80s is I think when I kind of got serious about it. God, it seems like so long ago.
Well, it's not yesterday, I can tell you
No,
that.
no, it's not. Just I just have to look at this.
Yes, you could see underneath, there's plenty of those.
I'm not
But
too far out from you. So.
You're far enough, kid.
but yeah, I think that was kind of how I started with comics. And I mean, I used to read a lot of like I showed some of those cartoony ones, but let's see, I got here's one. So like stuff like Space Ghost. I love Space Ghost. And this is kind of something recent I started chasing after is like the old Gold Key Hanna-Barbera. I grew up a Hanna-Barbera freak. I mean, I loved Scooby-Doo. I loved Blue Falcon, Herculoids, all that stuff that Hanna-Barbera was doing. I absolutely loved them. I mean, Captain Caveman, just, and I still watch a lot of these cartoons. They still hit good for me.
Yeah,
Um,
that if they're on, I'll watch him. His little kid. What was his name? The little caveman guy. He had a son.
yeah, Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. And then yeah, so a lot of that stuff. I mean, this was some early comic book stuff when they were doing kind of the animal like Peter Porker, Captain Carrot. I love these. I think this was some of the first comics I started reading, And then, of course, being an 80s kid, I could not get G.I. Joe and this is my favorite cover, by the way, this first cover of Major Blood. I
Nice.
don't know.
Well, show that again. Why is that your favorite cover?
Just because it's his first cover. I find it hilarious that he's getting off a bus and he's fighting the Joe, just like they're just down the street. So that one, and then this was my original one. I remember buying this off the the spinner rack, and it looks like it's from back then. I used to fold this up in my backpack. This one too. Unfortunately, it's first print, but man, is it red.
Oh,
It looks well
loved.
Well
Yes.
loved, yeah. So eventually one of these days I'll replace it, but this being an original that I had back in the day, I love those books. So those were kind of what started my journey, is some of that early stuff. And then my dad, I have to give a lot to my dad. My dad was very supportive of not just me. Some parents, they're like, why are you reading these funny books? They thought it was kind of a waste of time. But then again, like I said, as an only child, this is how I entertained myself. I read and drew what I was reading, type of thing. My dad saw the positive in that, he reinforced it a lot. So some of my early first comics I got were from him, that he bought from like 1970. He bought them as a kid, new off the rack, and I still have them. This one here was probably single-handedly responsible for me being a huge X-Men fan today. This was my first X-Men book ever, and this was right before they stopped the regular issues and went into reprints for like 5 years. But this is the original team. I remember reading this, at his house, being fascinated by these. It wasn't Spider-Man, it wasn't the Hulk, it wasn't, your Captain America, the ones that you saw a lot. I've never seen these guys before this book, so I was just fascinated with these. They had powers, but they weren't gained in a lab or an experiment or something. They were born with them. They were born different. So I thought that was interesting and fascinating. So yeah, that was one of my first books that I ever got. And then he gave me stuff like this one, Captain America. I thought it was cool. He's on a bike. My dad was a biker, so I think that's why I like that one. But then here, you guys might like these ones. He gave me some of my first Spider-Man books. So yeah, this was I think her first
black outfit, Black Widow black outfit.
Yeah.
First time I got to see Kingpin,
Nice.
But yeah, he got these all when he was probably like, I don't know, he had to have been about 20 when he bought these.
Okay.
So I think just out of high school. Gave me a whole bunch of these. Unfortunately, he didn't give me the low numbers. Those are the ones that I really wanted, but still, I thought I later in life started collecting Surfer probably because he gave me these early introductions to the character. This one I thought was pretty cool. At that time, I knew who Human Torch was. He's a pretty popular character. But yeah, he gave me all these, a lot of Silver Surfers. One more for that. But yeah, he had these in a brown paper bag. I remember for years staring at these, and finally he's just like, just take them. Just take them. So in the long box they went.
So he actually read those.
Yeah, those are his that he got off of at they had a little, it was like a small mom and pop grocery store by the house that he grew up in that you could walk to. And I remember going to the same store on my bike, and I would go get let's see, so it was the 80s. I think it was Wacky Packages and Garbage Pail Kids were kind of big at that time. So that's what I was riding my bike to that same store for. They were like a quarter or something like that. I'd take whatever money he would give me and go blow it on all those and chew on some rock hard candy that came in those packages. And
Nice.
Yeah, so it ran in the family and stayed in the family, collecting different things at different times, but still, that's really cool that you have that connection.
Yeah, those are books. Like, I'm not big into Captain America so much, or even the Spider-Man, but I will never get rid of those because those are very personal books that, they mean something. They don't have
For
to
sure.
be a key to mean something to somebody individually. So yeah, those ones will never leave the collection. I'll probably pass them on to my son, even though he doesn't care about comics that much. But it's still something that I would like to pass on. All the rest of this stuff, if he wants them, he can have them. Otherwise, I'm going to be buried with maybe some of those X-Men there.
Yeah, you've got the issues all picked out in your will. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And realistically, my wife keeps bugging me. She's like, "You need to put the value of those so I know what they mean."
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Eventually.
that's why I'm thinking about giving access to my wife to CLC. Because you can link it to cover price and then it has a value for the comics.
Yeah.
But then
'Cause
I'm afraid that she's going to see the value of the collection, even though, truth be told, I haven't spent nearly as much as what they're worth. Sometimes you just find those treasures, that are a couple
yeah.
$100, and you find them for 15, 20. Some of them you find at dollar bins.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you make good deals and trades and that kind of thing. So
And
that's the
I've gotten to a point too later in life. I used to be very good about making sure they're this grade or, this kind of shape and stuff. But, I had a big gap in my life where I wasn't collecting. I just couldn't afford it. I didn't have the time for it. And when I got back into it a couple years ago, it was one of those, I started going after kind of those, high grade books and stuff. But eventually I was like, what am I doing? I felt like I was running a lot and not really enjoying as much. So I did a switch where I just want the book to read it, to enjoy the artwork. I wasn't so concerned about making sure it was a certain grade for investment. I do still kind of consider that, but I'm not like all gung ho about it anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think we all go through something similar at different points in time. Because for me it was, oh, this is a cool cover, I'm going to collect it. And
Hmm.
I was just going through a phase where that's all I would grab, cool covers.
Hmm.
And then it's like, do I really need all these cool covers? Yeah, they're good looking, but so I've switched
Yeah,
more into, some of the stuff that I really want, not just that looks good, but that I really want and that I want in my collection and
yeah,
that I know it's going to stay there. Because that's the other thing, I don't sell books. So everything that we bring over has stayed here. And like I said, I've done some trades, but not nearly to balance out the stuff I brought in to match what, the output would be. So I think
yeah.
we all go through that at some point in time.
Yeah, I don't look forward to that day. I mean, in my basement, my son's moved out since the last couple of years, and I've turned his room. The bed's still there, but I've turned it into the library. So it's like I got shelves down there, like baker shelves, and I have it all just filled with all the short boxes. And one of these days, I do need to go through and figure out why am I holding on to this book? Did I read it, enjoy it? Am I ready to pass it on to somebody else to enjoy? That type of thing. And it's just I don't look forward to that because I'm probably going to have a hard time letting go of certain things because of that connection to that book. I'm going to remember where I was or who gave it to me, that type of thing, and why that book was important to me. Um, so yeah, I'm not looking forward to that day. I tell my wife we just need to move to a bigger house, right?
Right.
Just
You just need
upgrade,
more storage space.
more
Yeah,
storage space.
that's
Yeah,
that would solve everything.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's work.
yeah,
Yeah, it is. Jay, I feel like you and I have evolved so much since we first started collecting. Like we've
Hmm.
found ourselves as collectors. Um, and I know that we're talking about doing our first Whatnot show on
mm,
December 6th. So I'll
okay.
be really curious to see what Jay brings to the table and what he's willing to part ways with. So should be
I
interesting.
I started I started putting together all my FF books, in boxes together because I had them all over the place. I had a couple here, a couple there,
But yeah,
and I'm like, I just need to put them all in one place. And as I was doing that, I started thinking about the show. And I thought, oh, I'm going to get rid of a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to have at least a short box worth of comics. Yeah, I have a stack about this thick, which is not nearly a short box, especially considering I went through at least 3 long boxes and 6 short boxes of comics. So
Wow. Okay. All right. I
um,
was hoping you were going to bring more volume, but
I
it's
think
okay.
I still have to go through those labs because some of those labs I was victim of the whatnot bug,
Yeah.
where you buy something and it's like, oh, this was really cheap. And now I have free shipping. So I
yeah,
have to take advantage of the free shipping. So I would buy something else that was also cheap, but that I didn't really necessarily need or really wanted. It was just a good deal and too good to pass up and
yeah.
had to take advantage of the free shipping. So,
I've been there. I've been there on whatnot and been like, oh, I gotta get enough to get free shipping, and then you just keep going. You keep
uh
going. You get caught up in, oh, that's a cool book, but somebody else is bidding on it, and you're like, no, I want it. I want
yeah,
it.
that's the other part of it. That dopamine hit, like, oh, I got to win. And because you're bidding, mostly in increments of $1, it doesn't
Yeah,
Yeah.
feel,
It's
like
psychological
it's,
warfare. Yeah.
and it's
yes,
so easy just to swipe it.
Yeah. Nope. I want it more.
nope. Oh, I'm going to snipe it. Boom. Waiting for
Yeah,
that 1 second and try to do it. And
yeah.
yeah,
I had to give that kind of stuff a break because all the things we're talking about, it's too easy, and you don't think about realistically. Why do I want it? Do I really need it? Type of thing. Whereas I started doing more like claim sales on Instagram when somebody posts like a group of them, and you just say, "Oh, I want A, C, that type of thing," and they'll have it. The prices are what they are, so you already know what you're paying. It's just a matter of, okay, do you think about its condition, and do I really need it? Do I want it? Do I need it to fill a run, type of thing? So it's a way that I calm myself down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I still go to the store and dig in the dollar bins all the time. So
yeah, it's really easy,
oh yeah,
to get lost in that. I did have to uninstall the app because there were times where I would just, I didn't really need anything or was looking for anything, but it was just that having it on the background, like it became
yeah,
like part of the daily routine. So I uninstalled it for a while. I've installed it again, but I actually haven't bought anything lately in the last, I don't know. Well, I bought something from Spro because, he does IG live claim sales and he's
yeah,
got good stuff.
yeah. He does.
And, he said he was going to do it and to come support him. So I did. But prior to that, it'd been like 2 months since I actually bought anything of whatnot, which I'm really patting myself in the back because it used to be, 2 or 3 times a week that I would buy something.
Yeah, I've been trying to force myself. I wean myself off of variant covers, unless there's a cover that I like really got to have. It's a character that I love or an artist that I love, and even then, it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna get this cover. That's my cover for that issue, whatever it is. And then recently, even more, I kind of just quit getting variant covers because I'm just like, I'm okay with the A cover. I think back in the day, we didn't have variant covers, so I survived back then. And I just want to read it, enjoy it, so I don't need to collect them that much. So I've been doing better, doing better. It's like going
Better.
to a what, a 5-step program.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say.
It's tough, man. It's
Uh,
really tough, especially with those
so,
variants. I've been
Yeah,
yeah, because
susceptible.
some,
Yeah.
and especially it's that, well, you guys know about it very well. You have a squad of your own about FOMO, right?
yeah, and it's funny is we still do that where we bring books to basically tease each other and look at this ridiculous cover. I mean, I have a notepad next to the computer that when we do that, I write them down. And it's like, and then I go into either my CLZ app and I add it for like my wish list, or I'll go as far as go to my comic shop and I have a wish list there, and I'll find it there, whether it's they have it available stock, or you can follow their links and find it on eBay if you really want it. Um, so yeah, we're pretty bad about kind of, ribbing each other of look at this, you need this. I mean, I don't know how many books I bought because of those guys. Now, I love them. I've read them and they're ridiculous, but that's the fun part of comics, I think, in a way too, is that if it makes you laugh and smile, or some kind of emotional response, that's a great book to get. Not because somebody says it's going to be a big book and type of thing, but what is it doing to you personally?
Right.
And it's even better yet when my friend tells me about it, because they know how weird I am and what weird books that I like. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that, because I think along that journey that Bax mentioned of how far we've come, really it's more than the books now. Really, it's about, being here and talking to like-minded people and having a
Mhm.
good time and smiling and laughing. And here we are talking about, funny books
Yeah,
and expensive paper, really.
yeah, yeah.
So I feel that. I really do.
Yeah, back when I was a kid, I mean, we had a local shop that we would go to and hang out in, but it was different back then. I mean, it wasn't like there wasn't the community that we have now, with the comic books. And you have, I think back then it was almost like gatekeeping away, that if you were a supreme geek with comic books, you knew all the stuff. And it's like you reveled in telling it to people and would hold it over them type of thing. And now it's just like the community is so more expanse that it's more of sharing knowledge now. Um, that yeah, I 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I would have never thought we'd be in the place that we are now. And I know technology is a lot of it too, but yeah, it's a great time that we're in right now.
I agree. Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because there are a lot of fandoms that they seem toxic.
Mhm.
Um, really popular fandoms, but comic books in this niche that we're in, it seems very welcoming, and it doesn't seem like I mean, of course, you're going to have a few individuals here and there, but like overall, it seems like it's pretty accepting.
Yeah.
So it's a nice community to be in for sure.
Yeah, and the other side of it too, it's like I think there was a little bit of gatekeeping and that knowledge, but it just also wasn't as cool being a nerd.
Oh no,
Oh
jeez.
no, 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 no.
So it was like we were. I think I was one of the first hybrids where I was a jock because I did 5 different sports and also did comics. So I dabbled in both worlds, but my comic book friends, nerds, would try to stay in the shadows
Hmm.
because it was just not cool. And that obviously has changed. And I think part of it, like you say, it's technology and the fact that we are able to find like-minded individuals so
Yeah.
easily with YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And hey, I reach out to you on Instagram. You want to come on the show and talk nerdy for an hour? Hey, yeah, here you are having a great time. So I think that's the other side of it too.
Yeah, yeah. I was kind of like that too, Jay. I was kind of a weird hybrid. I did wrestling and track and field and stuff like that. But then, outside of that, I had my art classes and I had, the comic books and stuff, but there wasn't very many of us. I mean, you were
Mhm.
one side or the other.
Yes.
And I bounced around from both of those, and probably didn't help that I had super long hair and I was into all that hairband stuff back then. Back then too. So that was a whole nother genre too that I was in. But yeah, it's definitely, I do remember, like you said, some of my friends that were just the pure comic book collectors and stuff like that. And yeah, they kept to the shadows and stuff. They didn't want to bring attention to
Hmm.
themselves by, you know, whether it was the headbangers or the jocks, because yeah, it just wasn't cool.
No,
Yeah. And
it wasn't, and I was kind of at like the tail end of it. So I was very much in the shadows. I was into my art, and I just wanted to be left alone and
Yeah.
draw my comics, right? And I would get bullied because of that, right? But like 4 years later, my sister is in high school and she's wearing like Aquaman shirts and Superman shirts, and is like, "Oh, don't wear that! Don't wear that to school." She's like,
Yeah.
"What are you
You're gonna
talking
get
about?
beat
This is
up.
fine." Yeah. And it was totally a completely different world, you know. It was like, oh yeah, that's mainstream pop culture. It's
Yeah,
completely fine.
it
Yeah,
happened really fast too. I
yeah,
think
Yeah.
it
like
did.
once we got to the level that the movies could do what they were doing,
Yep.
in the late 90s and early 2000s, all suddenly that geek culture blew up. It became acceptable and cool that you could like Harry Potter and not be looked at strangely because you
Yeah.
like these kids going to a wizard school, or
Right.
all the Star Wars explosion, with the Clone Wars and stuff. I mean, that was my jam when I was a kid. It was Return of the Jedi, and that's all we
Yeah.
talked about. And we went and saw the same movie multiple times in the theater. I can't believe our parents gave us money to go see the same damn movie multiple times in the
Yeah.
theater. So yeah,
Yeah, and I remember, like I said, very distinctively, I had three groups of friends: the nerds, the jocks, and the headbangers. So one was I could talk nerd, the others I would do sports, and the other ones were the ones I could go to concerts with, because those three did not interact with one another.
no, I don't think
Um,
any of mine did either.
so, but while you're talking about it and how you like to do your art and stuff, we saw the live stream. Again, thanks to Nate at 𝐜𝐨𝐜 for letting me snag part of that live stream for Comics Curing Cancer. I was able to snag a piece from you that I want to show.
Yeah, you got that.
Um, Here it is, that Cthulhu that he drew. And of course, the camera, like always, doesn't do it justice. But you drew this in 10 minutes. How?
I I don't know. I was in the zone. I was in the zone. I mean, I think some of it because I was working on that other piece most of the show. Um, Sometimes when I do drawing, something from school, they would always have us do warm up sketches, especially like in figure drawing class, before we would actually have the model come out and stand for up to 50 minutes. They would have us do like a still life, just do a quick drawing of this, just to kind of loosen up and type of thing. And I think working on that other drawing got me loosened up that I needed a change. I needed a break from the pen and ink that I was doing. So I switched to that one, which I was using like Copic markers. Now I already had a very loose pencil sketch for that. I didn't quite know exactly what I wanted to do, but I had kind of the form set up. And I looked at it and I was like, man, I got to do something else. I got to take a break from this pen and ink. So I just started doing that, and I just got in a zone where I was having fun. That's what it was. I was having fun, and I think that's why I got it done so quick. I wasn't thinking about where's the light source coming from, where is my color balance and my shadows. I just did it, um, and I had fun. That a lot of art to me is having fun with it, and creating and exploring just the actual technique of doing art. One of my favorite things to do with art, like I do a lot of pen and ink. I love exploring line weight, doing it thin so it kind of pushes it to the distance, doing it thick so it's a little bit closer to you. I love line weight. And then also with shading, I like doing different techniques for shading, whether it's just a solid black, blob, or doing cross hatching where you're just doing lines and then you cross them. So if you guys are familiar with Jim Lee, he's like a big inspiration for cross hatching. You look at his early art from the 90s, so much cross hatching, and I loved it. I would sit and just study his line work because of how he would define the form just by that weight of the line and how he would mix it together and stuff. So, yeah, that's fascinating to me. It's fun. I like exploring stuff like that.
And where do you find some of the inspiration? Because the piece you did before was serial killers, but it was serial you know, mascots in a lineup. Like,
Yeah.
where do you come up with this stuff?
I,
It was
I
great. I loved it, but
I
I
have
would have never thought about it.
I kind of have a my wife says I have a dark sense of humor, so stuff like that is I find it humorous. Yeah, they're supposed to be like that kid-friendly figure, but then I'm thinking, what if I put them in a like usual suspects lineup, but put them with real serial killers? So, I put Jason there, and then I put John Wayne Gacy, but he's in his clown costume, so he kind of goes with the serial characters a little bit. And I find that funny.
It
My
was
wife says
very
I have
funny.
kind of a dark heart, but I guess I do.
It was very funny, and it was really cool watching you work.
Thank you.
And I'm really looking forward to. I haven't put this in a frame because you wrote a very nice note on the back,
Oh,
which I won't
yeah.
read, and I don't want to just cover it with the frame. So I'm looking for the right frame, and I haven't found it. But it's going to go here in my signature wall in front of me.
I need something
Um,
like that. I have a bunch of art pieces behind me that just kind of get lost in the comics. I almost need a separate wall for them. I actually threw some of my recent stuff back here. I don't know if you can see it. I did it for Brian LCS's that damsels. Here, you know what? I got one here. I grabbed. He did a Kickstarter for this damsels of Halloween and horror. I don't know if you guys saw this, and I did an
Oh, cool.
art piece for this for him, and I just stuck it in the back. I need to put it in a frame. Ugh. But here's the original piece that's in that. This is kind of a mixed media. It's watercolor. I have some pen and ink in there, and then in school, my portfolio was actually color pencil, so I got a little bit of color pencil in there too. But this one, I think, like you asked me about my ideas, I come up with ideas. I like contrasting ideas. So, like this, I loved because it was your iconic Hellraiser character, but the flip was we made it a female character. So I was kind of fascinated. How would you do Pinhead as a female character? So that's kind of a thought process behind this one. And like the serial killers, I was like, okay, I want to do serial killers in a lineup, but I want to soften it with these serial characters from Breakfast. So kind of like that, the contrasting ideas.
that's very cool.
Cool. Yeah.
That was a fun project.
Are you working on anything specific, or do people
Um,
just reach out and say, "Hey, we'd like you to do something like this"? Or
I got 3 projects going right now, different levels. I have a big, huge watercolor I'm doing for somebody. Somebody asked me to do it as a gift for somebody else. So I'm working on that one. And then so most recently, I am working on a drawing for me and a bunch of other guys started doing Marvel Multiverse RPG because a lot of us are gamers too in the comic book community. And I started drawing a picture of our team. So here's a sketch that I did, which is very Justice League America, where they have the team looking up at the camera. So this was my sketch for the idea of all our characters. My character is the big guy in the back here.
Nice.
He's a dragon man. But then what I did is I transferred it to like a Bristol board, which is what they use for comic books when they do the pages. And it's actually a comic book page thing, what they would use. So started inking that, is pen and ink. I'm going to eventually probably add color to it. And there's Mr. Akins. Here's his character right here. I don't know if he's seen this, so surprise. But yeah, I'm going so far as I put a little title up there. I'm going to change it from Marvel Comics Group to something else. And then I got our team name there. We're the Avengers. So yeah, this is a current project that I'm working on. And then, let's see, I got some more sketches next to me. I'm working on something for Brian LCS. He gave me these blank covers back at Heroes Con. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. And I finally thought of an idea I wanted to do. He's a Spider-Man guy. It's a Spider-Man book. I thought let's do Spider-Man fighting a bunch of his rogues. So I did a quick sketch of just a layout sketch, and I got him basically he's getting pummeled by all of them. They're just mobbing him. So I haven't decided who's going to be who yet. I mean, I'm definitely going to do Gabi right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to.
And then I'm thinking this is probably going to be Sandman.
Yeah.
Probably Mysterio up here.
Okay.
But yeah, I got to decide on some of the other characters. This might be Black Cat. It's the only female character. I might change this one into a female too. But yeah.
Cool.
So that's another project that I'm working on right now. But I have not too many people have asked me to do projects. A couple times I've kind of been like, I don't know if I have time type of thing, which I don't. I really don't have a lot of time. But I do enjoy doing it. I think it's one of those, if I'm doing it just for fun, as like a gift type of thing, it takes that pressure off of me of making sure that I want it to be perfect type of thing. Whereas commissions that I've done, I've never felt like it was good enough, and I never felt like it was done. And I just felt I had that weird feeling once I did give it to them that I'm like, I could have done better, and I get away from that feeling by just doing it and giving it away type of thing. So somebody gives me an idea, I put it in the back of my head, or I write it down and I save it for later. And then maybe months later, like the one I'm working on, the other project downstairs, that's a big watercolor. That was suggested and asked quite a while ago. And I'm just now kind of getting to it. And it's one of those surprise type of things. Yeah, I'm working on it. I got ideas, that type of thing. So, and I think some of that comes from me trying to break into the field. It's a hard field to get into. I think it's easier now than it used to be. It's still pretty brutal, but it was rough. And eventually you get tired of that rat race. And I did a lot of freelancing back then too, in the 90s when I was out of school and all that. And it was tiring because you're worrying about, am I charging enough? Am I going to get this done in time? I got to line up the next job, but meanwhile, I got to finish these other ones. So it got to a point where I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. And it wasn't breaking out. So I was like, I had to make that decision. So.
Yeah, there comes a point in time where we have to really refocus if some efforts are not paying off, and it's unfortunate. But it's why we're here today, and I think that even though it's cliche, things do happen for a reason. So
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I was given that opportunity to spend time more with family instead of having to spend hours and hours behind a drafting table.
Mm-hmm.
I think the level of technology slowed it down back then too. I am actually struggling with updating my techniques to kind of align with modern technology more. I'm old school. I pen and ink, draw a sketch, make some Xerox copies, redraw it on nicer paper, and then do it all over again. All this scanning and all that kind of stuff, I it's beyond me, and I'm trying to learn more of it because it does speed up the process. It makes the process a little bit easier, but I still find myself falling back to those old techniques because that's what was hammered into my head. you know
well, and I
Yep.
think it's stand the test of time, right? Like we're
Yeah.
still doing it for a reason because everything hasn't just switched to technology and iPads and Photoshop or whatever they use nowadays. Like, I think classic, it's classic for a reason, and it'll continue to stand the test of time.
Hmm.
And it's like I'm big into tattoos. You go to a lot of tattoo places now, and all they're doing is copy pasting images, manipulating it. But a lot of people don't know how to draw,
Yeah.
which is the basis of a tattoo. You should be able to draw. And a lot of people don't. They'll snag a picture of the internet, change it a little bit, put it on a stencil and then put it on you, and
There's
it's
no,
just not the same flavor.
there's no emotion in something like that. And that's one of the things, like with art, I'm drawn to more of the fine art, like when you see stuff by like Alex Ross or Bill man, I always mess up his name, Skevich.
Yep.
These guys are first and foremost artists, fine artists, and they work in a comic book field. So I'm always drawn to those kind of artists because there's more emotion in their styles and their how they're portraying their subject. I mean, you look at some of those old Moon Knights. There's some dark covers for a guy that's costume is straight up white, you know, but you see him in that painterly style. It gets that almost eerie emotions of, this was like before they really determined that he had a split personality too. So, but you still see kind of that angst and, just the energy of the brushstrokes. So, yeah, when you're just doing copy and pasting and just kind of reproducing or doing stuff digitally, I just don't feel like it has the same emotion of that artist or even the subject. If you're trying to portray an emotion for that subject, if you're doing it kind of that way, I just don't I don't feel it's as raw.
Yeah, and I think even some of the creativity gets lost, right? Because if
Yeah.
you messed up a line, you had to go back and imagine how to fix it or hide it in a creative way, because you couldn't just do Control Z and undo, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you can. If a line it's all screwed up, then up undo, it's gone. So now there's no creative way to fix that mistake. And I'm not, you know, digging on anybody. That's their style, and that's fine. But I do think that that's something missing, in my opinion.
So when I was in art school, I think digital stuff was just starting to come out, and we had professors that said, "Don't look at it as it doing it for you." Yes, they want you to learn how to use all the different abilities in that program, but they stressed use it as a tool. Look at it as another tool. You can use it to start off something, but they used to force us to like print it out and then finish it physically, whether it was through painting, color pencils, inking, something like that, so that it had that emotion that we were learning how to draw those lines and color whatever objects we were working in. So yeah, we were forced to not rely on the technology to do the artwork, but just use it as a tool. I mean, that's one thing I always say, like when you're doing art, have a tool, you have a toolbox. You could have number of pencils, markers, pencils, or ink pens, that kind of stuff. You just have a toolbox of different things that you can do whatever artwork you're working on, and it's open to everything. It doesn't have to be just one thing. And that's something like the this picture I showed. I couldn't stick just a watercolor. I brought in inks and pens. I brought in color pencils to it because it's just they're all different tools to you know do that artwork. So very important thing I think in art.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have a favorite piece you've ever worked on?
I have a watercolor sitting next to me. I did it. It's an old one. That's probably one of my favorite pieces I've done. It's the only time that I've done a self portrait.
Let's
So
see it.
Bring it
self
on.
portrait, it's you're looking in the mirror, so it's like you see all the faults. But I had fun when I said I have a dark sense of humor. I had fun with this one. So this is from a little RPG game called The Vampire the Masquerade. I used to do this game. So this is me as a insane vampire. So it's
Nice.
you see the bars in the window of the insane asylum, and yeah, I'm raging. So yeah, I
That's
had some
cool,
fun
though.
with
That's
this.
great.
This one I think this might be just a straight watercolor. I might have a little bit of color pencils in there, but yeah, this was the only time I painted myself. because I'm like, yeah, I don't want to look at myself again and try to reproduce. I mean, doing portraits, people, is probably one of the hardest art forms to do, because if you don't do it right, if you jack up their eyes and make them, it's easy to make them cross-eyed, and then you're like, yeah, they don't look right. Whereas if you do animals or just, mundane objects, then you have a little bit of leadway for, differences. But people, one of the hardest things to draw.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yep. I almost minored in art, and yeah, doing self portraits was always the thing I dreaded most. So
Yeah. And I think the human form is, and I've always thought this is like one of the most beautiful subjects to draw in art, any art. That's, you look at centuries of it, that artists are constantly drawing the art figure, but it's also the most intimidating to get it right. I mean, you're always learning. It's a form that's completely different every single time. Yeah, hands are hands, feet are feet. You have a general form that you're reproducing, and you can always work on it. But yeah, it's rough, but it also can be very rewarding too.
definitely.
Is there a favorite medium you have? Is it watercolor maybe, or?
Probably watercolor, which is, I did not discover watercolor till after art school. Um, I struggled with it for years and years and years, because watercolor, you cannot tame watercolor. It is very spontaneous. I refer to watercolor as, you can play with them, but it's kind of like herding cats. You kind of just direct it to whichever way, and it's kind of like happy mistakes. You know, yeah, you can work with it and you can kind of control it, but it's going to do what it wants. And I think that's exciting to me. I in school learned pen and ink. They hammered that stuff into my head, line weight and cross hatching and all that. And then my portfolio was actually color pencil, which I do like color pencil. But when you are staying up till 2, 3 in the morning working on drawings for deadlines and all, I got tired of color pencils. And then, yeah, I just at that point wanted to get out. And then once I got out, I did take some follow up classes, because it's like I want some more fine art stuff. And I took a watercolor class with an excellent teacher that opened up my eyes to how to work with it. And I just fell in love with the medium, how fluid and spontaneous it can be. But yet, she also showed me that it can be very graphic. You can use it in illustration, to a finer, not so fine art, but more of that graphic quality. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think I've always used watercolor since I kind of got used to dealing with it. Whereas before, I didn't know what I was doing, and I think it was all the teachers. I put all that credit to the teacher of working with us as students, and everybody was a little bit different too. So it's like everybody had their own little approach to it, which was another interesting thing about watercolor to me. Not one person used it the same way.
So if you could make it now into the comic book world and draw a comic book, who would you like to draw and why? You could have your own miniseries,
Hmm.
limited time event.
That's a interesting question. Because it's like my favorite character is Wolverine. I've spent so many years drawing him as a kid. I don't know if I would want to do him as a series though, because he's a complicated character, and it's like, how do you? I don't know how I would, you know, accomplish a good storytelling with him. That hasn't been done too. That's the other thing. I got to think about what hasn't been done. I think I would. Hmm. See, now I really like horror stories. I really love the modern horror genre in comics. So different than what it used to be. Now, granted, I do love the '70s horror, but it's a different approach to it. It's more campy. Whereas you look at horror from now, and it's treated very fine art. So I would love to do your classic monsters. I think, like I love zombies. I love your Dracula, Frankenstein, all those classic characters that kind of got me interested in science fiction and horror. So I don't know if there's actually one particular character like Spider-Man, Wolverine type of thing that I would like to draw. I would like to draw monsters, I think, because it would bring me back to my childhood of that wonder, that fascination with the monsters. You know, the monster under the bed or in your closet type of thing. As you know, opposed to like modern horror where it's more about the crazy serial killer and stuff. That doesn't do it as much for me. The shock. I don't like the shock horror. I like the monster horror where it's the creepiness and yeah, you can't reason with that monster because he just wants to eat you.
So would you prefer, or would you rather work with one of the established monsters like the universal monsters, or would you like
I
to create your own monster?
I think so. I like established monsters. I mean they've lasted the test of time for a reason because they're interesting, and I really like when I see creators use something that's been around for a while like that, but using it in a different way. You know, they kind of represent it differently because then it's like, oh, they breathe new life to it, and I think that would be exciting to try and do that myself. You know, let's how many zombie movies and zombie comics are out there? What can you do differently? Well, it'd be interesting to try and do something different. What hasn't been done, or what has been done, let's try and do it a little bit better or do a twist on it type of thing. So yeah, I think that would be interesting. I mean, like you got Creature from the Black Lagoon. Let's take them out of the Congo and let's bring them into suburbia. you know,
Now that I would pay to see.
heck yeah. There's I think there's a lot of cheerleaders he could get into some trouble with.
He's just misunderstood. He's just a poor boy,
That's right.
Just lurking at the bottom of the class
just
pool.
lurking at the bottom,
Just-
yeah, in the swimming pool.
yeah.
That's great.
Who's your favorite monster?
Probably Dracula. I
Yeah.
I I think one of my first introductions to like vampires was Bela Lugosi, in Dracula. But then quickly did I fall in love with Hammer films. I love Christopher Lee's Dracula. I still love Bela Lugosi for what he was at that time.
Yep.
But when Hammer took some of those classic monsters, and man, did they amp it up. I mean, Christopher Lee with bloodshot eyes, and he had the just blood on his fangs and stuff. That was scary. I mean, I always say that's a vampire that's not trying to romance you. He wants to straight up drink your blood. He's evil. Um, but yeah, I Dracula's probably my favorite character. I'd like he's not necessarily a monster. He does have this humanity behind him. He has reasons why he's doing it. Granted, they're not good, but they're his reasons, and that's interesting. They make sense to him for some reason, and it's like, okay, he has this goal he wants to do. Everybody else is in his way, and what does he do to get them out of his way? So I find him interesting. I mean, I do like your straight up monsters like zombies. I mean, oh my gosh, I remember first time I saw Night of the Living Dead, it blew me away. It was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
scary,
Yeah.
and just that contrast, black and white, and
hmm
um, just the fact that they're a eating, killing machine that will not stop unless you stop it somehow. They'll just keep coming, and that's to me is straight up terrifying. That you can't, you can do. You can run and hide, and about it. Or you can try to fight a horde, but that never goes off well. So
Do you have a favorite zombie game? You mentioned
zombie
you were a
game.
gamer.
Let's see. I do like, so there's a board game I like called Zombicide. I actually recently got a version of that game. They got licensed with Marvel, so they did a Marvel Zombies version of the game, which is kind of fun. Video game wise, what was it? Was it? It wasn't. See, I keep thinking of this game. It's called Aliens Ate My Neighbors. I think it was, but that was Aliens. It wasn't.
No. It was like Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
so
the
I
Super
am right.
Nintendo. Yeah.
I am right thinking of that one. We
Yeah,
used to play that
yeah.
all the time. I think that was a college game. You know, we were in the dorms. We had no money. We had nothing else to do. We played that game to death. We scraped up enough money to get a Miller High Life 30 pack. Came with the extra couple beers, and
Nice.
that was our weekend playing
Nice.
that, and like Earthworm Jim was another big one that
Oh,
we
yeah.
used to play all the time. So
Dead Island.
Yeah.
I think my favorite one's more modern, but Days Gone.
I don't know.
Yeah,
what
that
it
was
Play that.
really good.
You like bikes? You like zombies? You should definitely play that.
Oh yeah, if you haven't played that, you should check that. You would love
You know, I remember trying to play, was it Red Dead Redemption with
Yeah.
my son, and he kills at those games. It's like he goes into the Matrix zone and he's like got all the unlocks and stuff. Me, I'm busy running around the same damn building, you know, because if I pause too long, the zombies are going to swarm me and I'm done. I can't do some of those 3D world games. I need a classic side scroller.
it. Okay.
Well, then maybe you should have your son play it and you watch it.
Yeah,
Because
you
I think
watch.
That's usually what ended up happening. He would be like, "Give me the controller. You just keep dying." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I just sit and watch him. And next thing I know, he had a horse that had like, it was like Ghost Rider's horse. I'm like, "Where'd you get this horse?" Yeah.
Yeah, Days Gone though was great.
you play that
some of
one,
those-
right, Max?
Oh yeah, like those zombie hordes were insane. I mean,
Wow.
it's just like it's crazy that they were able to populate that many zombies on the screen. It's like it's hundreds of
So I
zombies.
used to play Resident Evil quite a bit, the first
Okay.
two, and I loved playing those. Man, you could lose hours to that game just exploring that open world that they had. But man, yeah, I need a good basic slow, not too intense game. Like there's one that I would love to play some more. I've only tried it a couple times. I got off of Steam. It's a Bigfoot game where you're basically Bigfoot in the woods and you're trying to scare away the campers. Get out of my woods. That's the whole premise. It's hilarious. It's like you can throw crap at them, trying to scare them away, push down trees. But I think at the same time, they're trying to capture evidence of you. So you're like, you have to avoid them too, in the
Okay.
same sense. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's like kind of that sneaking around type of thing.
I'm going to have to check that one out. Sounds
Yeah,
like
that's
fun.
great.
Well, we're coming up in an hour,
Wow.
which has been great. I didn't even realize that. Time flies when you're having fun.
It's gone fast. Yeah.
Anything else you want to showcase, Eric, before we depart?
Well, I dug out some early books that kind of, I guess, shaped me as a collector. I'll buzz through them really quick since we're short on time.
You don't have to buzz. We're
No,
good.
you're good.
I remember buying these
Oh,
ones. These
yes.
ones were one that I remember for a year going every month to buy the newest issue. And I know you guys have a personal history with this one. So yeah, this is my original copy still.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So I don't know grade wise. It hasn't come. The only time it came out of a bag was to put it in this updated one.
Okay.
So I mean, I read it a couple times back in the 80s, and then whoop, it went in there. Here's one that was a recent pickup that I
Nice.
had. Don't know what happened to it, so I had to rebuy it. And lucky enough, at a con, Arthur Adams was there, so I had him sign it for me.
Wow.
So I'm
Beautiful.
still, there's still the one black suit that I need for that trilogy. It's the one from *𝐜𝐨𝐮𝐫𝐧𝐞𝐲, where it's kind of that redo and he's holding the guy.
52.
252. Yep.
I'm still trying to hunt that one down.
Yep.
Here's an early X-Men book. This is probably when I first started collecting. So this is my original book back in the day. And I've been on this mission of getting signatures all over it. I got a couple on the back too.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's
How
awesome.
many signatures do you think you have in there?
See, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I got 7 because I think there's 2 on the back. So it's getting there.
That's
There's
awesome.
a lot. There's
That's
a lot
awesome.
that I'm not going to be able to get on here because a lot of the creators
some of them
passed
are
now.
gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
When this started, this kind of relates to my first X-Men book my dad gave me because it's a team I recognized. So when this came out, I was so ecstatic that I could start something new. I love X Factor. I was there every month to pick it up when it came out. It was that throwback of I remember this team because of my dad. So I was a big fan of that series. And then when I found out there was mutants in Canada, heck yeah, I went and got me some Alpha Flight. But yeah, one of my favorite covers, of course, was with Wolverine on it. And this was for Jim Lee's first cover. So yeah, all over that one. And I liked this box too. They don't do him right anymore. They just, they kind of threw him off to the side. Oh, let's see. What else do I got here? Well, me being a Wolverine, of course, I have to have that one. This was my introduction to his first. I upgraded it, but yeah, this one it's very well loved. You can't tell the original bag too. It's kind of neat. Falcon, my favorite X-Men.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. Yeah.
I love this cover so much. A Danish version.
Nice.
That's something new. I started kind of branching into the foreign copies of books.
They're fun.
The books, these anniversary covers, I actually just picked up another one. I got the Cloak and Dagger one today. I think I need the hard ones like Muppet Babies, Ewoks, and Care Bears. I think those are the only
Care
3 I
Bears.
need to have all these. And I just, it's not a matter of price on them. I never see them. I like buying my books in the wild. Very few times I've gotten frustrated and been like, just gone to, online to get it.
𝐜𝐵, yeah.
There's another one that I was for there when it started. I think that's probably a reason why I like his character so much. And this is an excellent, Buscema artwork. I wish he was on the series longer than he was, but then again, he was late in his career. He retired like 4 times, and they kept bringing him back somehow. Kept talking him back into working on this project, that project. Best storyline for the X-Men, the Phoenix Saga. And
Is that a Claremont signature?
That's Claremont. Yeah, I stood in line for 2 hours for a bunch of books. My wife was with me. He didn't talk to me. He talked to my wife. She's a redhead. Go figure. Since I do like Dracula and vampires, also another one of my favorite X-Men storylines is when Storm gets turned into a vampire by Dracula. So this is the annual number 6, and then they kind of had a follow-up in 159.
Nice.
I think I have multiple copies of that. It's just a favorite book of mine. Oh, here we go. Some more X-Men love. This issue blew me away. Storm kicks Cyclops' butt with no powers, took leadership. I love that. Some of the storytelling I like within the mutant world is, you could have this extreme character that even without her powers, she's still phenomenal. One of my favorite covers by him. Gotta get him to sign it though.
Yeah, that's great.
Nice. Yeah.
And then
Recently portrayed in the Deadpool Wolverine
Yes.
movie.
And
Yeah.
the value skyrocketed.
I know.
Yeah,
I
some
wish I had
people-
a nicer copy. That's my original copy, and it's
Yeah.
got spine ticks all over it.
Yeah.
but Whatever. It's for me. It's one
Yeah.
of those things. And then here's another one.
Oh.
I kick myself for when I bought this from the store. I didn't get two. At this time, I was buying two of everything. Like two cables. I got two this, two that. This one, I didn't get two for some reason.
Oh
I
man.
think my store was limiting people to, one issue type of thing. I don't know. Or they sold out and I got one and my cousin got one and that was it type of thing. But
Okay.
yeah, I wish I had more.
Bummer. Yep.
And then
One of my grails.
did I say I like X?
I'm starting
may
to
have
see a
mentioned it.
theme.
These are just
I'm starting to see a theme.
this is my
Oh, there we
favorite
go.
on it.
Yep.
But yeah, I have so many of these number ones that came out. You see, it's a guilty pleasure. New universe. I was at that age that when, oh, this is going to be the thing. So I fell in this series, one other series, the new universe line. They went for about 2 years. I like '87 because it reminded me of the X-Men. They were some kind of weird powers that manifested, and they formed this ragtag team. So yeah, this one, I love this. This was a Jim Shooter brainchild thing. I actually had this with me, I think a couple weeks before he passed. He was at a show and he canceled, so I never got it signed by him. But I did get the writer to sign. So
Nice.
I mean, I don't think these are worth anything other than people that were fans of them. So it's just one of those guilty pleasure books. When I see it, I buy it just because it takes you back to that time period,
Yeah. That's cool.
And then another guilty pleasure, I loved these guys, the New Warriors. Another weird ragtag team. I think I was at the age that they kind of were. So I think I could relate to those young problems that they had. So, yeah. And I mean, I was already familiar with Namor's cousin. So, because I was getting his series at that time too. And then let's see, what do we got? These were my Bibles back in the day, Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, you can just go online and look stuff up, but this is what we had. A lot of these books actually taught me how to draw characters too, because I would study the profiles.
Oh.
Where they had to like profile shots of them and stuff, and I would just study the anatomy of the characters from these books. So
That's cool.
absolutely love those books. And then, okay, I'll show you a couple more things. Loved these when they broke. Aliens. I was a huge fan of the movie. And this artist, actually, Mark Nelson, he was one of my professors in school. So,
that's cool.
So a lot of my style, I kind of attribute to studying this book when it came out. And then later, a couple of years later, when I got into school, he was one of my teachers. I didn't know too. I just show up and he's there as a professor. I was like, wait a second. Blew me away. My other guilty pleasure, and then this will be it. Late 80s, I discovered independent comics, how they were different from superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up with Turtles. Turtles broke. I kind of never really got big into them. When they first started, I was. But I was attracted to the spin-offs. So I have
Like
all
build
these.
hamsters.
Yeah, I have these weird animal ninja things that
Adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters.
what it is the art. I like the art in these. There's a lot of that line work in this that I find fascinating. So that's kind of probably the draw there for that. But here's another series. If you guys never heard of this one, it's by 𝐟𝐫𝐤𝐜, Samurai. This is volume 1. The other 2 volumes aren't that good, but this original volume that came out in the '80s was really good. If you guys like anime, sci-fi type of stuff, really good series. And then one more animal one. They make me laugh. That's why I
Hamster
like them.
buddies.
And there's a ton of them out there. I think there's Fish Police. That's one that I've gotten, and that's gone through a couple different versions. I think Marvel ended up with the rights to it, and it got released as a short-lived cartoon for a while too. But yeah, I don't know what it is about these animal comics. They make me laugh because some of they're ridiculous.
Yeah,
And I can appreciate the idea, what they're trying to do. So tongue-in-cheek humor, I guess, is what it is.
yeah, they look like they could be a fun read.
Yep.
They're the kind of read that you can't take serious. They're spoofing something so many times in there. I mean, that one's Miami Vice, but at the same time, it's very '80s action. So it's like, okay, they were watching a Schwarzenegger movie.
For sure. For sure. Nice.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so
Well,
much for sharing those.
Mm-hmm.
yes, that was a lot of fun. Thanks again for coming into the show and
Thanks for having me.
hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Anything, where can people find you, Eric?
Yes.
So I am on both YouTube at SideQuest Comics, and then you can also find me on Instagram. I have an Instagram account there that I'm pretty much posting every day. And then if you follow like some of the other community members, we do like groups things like �꞉𝐤𝐜 and Big Nasty Comics, and I mean there's a group of us that we like getting on here and hanging out and stuff. So like actually this Sunday, I'm doing a live stream. I did one other time and I skipped last month, and the guys were kind of bugging me. They had so much fun doing the live art stream that they wanted to do it again. So I got a bunch of them coming on this Sunday, and we're gonna do uh, just a live art jam type of thing. I usually have them bring a book that kind of was inspirational to them art wise, like what is it about that artist that you like type of thing. And then we'll do. I think I'm gonna make them do some different like drawing challenges to kind of warm up. I have a list of different drawing subjects, and I'm just gonna pick them random. And like last time, I think we drew a muscle arm. So and I let them do however they wanted to interpret it, and then from there we just went into whatever art project that we wanted to work on. So we're gonna do that again, and I like. I've been trying to do more art on the channel because I think it's for some people it's fascinating to see the process, and I don't think there's enough out there. I mean, we're in a hobby that art is a major feature of it, but I don't think there's a lot of highlighting that goes on out there. So trying to bring more out there, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. I just watched the one you did for Nate with Dazzler.
The Daz, I
You
think
know,
that was one of my better ones that I did, because the previous two were fun, but I think that uniqueness of Dazzler and capturing her personality is what made it fun.
yeah, and it's a great job, and it's also an easy watch, because you can have it on the background, and it's not one that you have to be 100% focused and paying attention because you're going to miss, you
Yeah,
know, the
the,
plot or the talk or whatever it is.
a lot of
So
those
I found it
videos.
therapeutic.
Oh, good. I always worry about that. I'm rambling on too much because I do the voiceovers. Like when I film those, I just have the camera over my table. And I think that one in particular was like almost 3 hours long. Like if I uncut and edited and stuff. And I'm like, man, nobody's gonna want to sit and watch this for 3 hours. So like originally, I broke it up in different segments of pencils, watercolors, and then inks, and then I took those sections and just sped them up, so that way I could get it at least a little bit more digestible. But well, I'm glad I'm not putting you to sleep.
No. It was great. It was fun. So if you guys watching, you're not following Eric, go follow him, watch some of his videos. And yeah, I think you've given us your handles. You've given us what what you got coming up next.
Yep.
So I think that's it for tonight. Thank you again so much for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Love having you on the show and can't wait to do it again.
All right.
All right. Well, until next time, keep flipping those pages.
We'll see you in the next issue.